Throughout TV and movie history, there are some instances where screenwriters have accurately predicted the future.
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. How bad is it, Secretary Van Houten?
We're broke.
One famous example of this comes from the 1990s film Total Recall. In the movie, we see Arnold Schwarzenegger's character hop into a driverless taxi with an ornamental robot driver named Johnny.
You're in a Johnny cab.
The idea of this driverless cab seemed far-fetched in the 90s, but this type of transportation is quickly becoming a reality. An autonomous vehicle is any type of vehicle that can move and navigate itself through its surroundings without any human input. These vehicles perceive their surroundings and navigate using technology such as sensors, cameras, radar, and AI. Many of us have systems in our cars that are classified as semi-autonomous features. Some examples of this are automatic emergency braking and lane keep assist. The concept of autonomous vehicles has been around for a lot longer than some may think. The first recorded autonomous vehicle prototype was created by Leonardo da Vinci. Da Vinci's self-propelled cart used springs to power it, and steering could be set in advance to move the car along a predetermined path. The first driverless car, however, did not reach the prototype stage until the 1920s. These cars are not like the autonomous vehicles emerging today. They relied heavily on the external inputs to control the vehicle. In 1925, Houdina Radio Control created a model of a driverless car to demonstrate the potential of radio technology that was powered by a second car following close behind it. This demonstration did end with the vehicle crashing into another filled with photographers, but hey, I'd still call that a good start. We're going to skip ahead a few years to 1991, when Congress passed the Intermodal Surface Transportation Efficiency Act. This act, signed by President George H.W. Bush, allocated $650 million to be spent over the course of the next 6 years to develop the technology that would be needed for driverless cars running on an automated highway. The goal for this program was not to make fully autonomous vehicles, rather to make semi-automatic cars that collaborate with the highway to drive hands and feet free. In 1997, the program concluded with a demonstration of test vehicles driving 7 miles down an interstate in California. So, why do we still not have automated highways? Well, the legislation assigned a task, which was completed, but it left out any direction on funding to implement these vehicles on a larger scale. What about today? Well, since 1997, massive strides have been made in the autonomous vehicle industry. In fact, almost all new cars have some type of semi-autonomous features in them.
As of March 2013, Google alone had logged more than 500,000 miles of autonomous driving on public roads without incurring a crash attributable to the technology. Numerous technological breakthroughs have made these achievements possible, including advanced sensors to gather information about the world, increasingly sophisticated algorithms to process sensor data and control the vehicle, and more computational power to run them in real time. Before diving into who is doing what and how far along they are, let's break down the different levels of autonomous vehicles. Our level 1 is a computer assistance of simple driving functions like cruise control, ABS, and stability control. Level 2 is partially automation of one feature at a time in limited circumstances, for example, automatic emergency braking. Level 3 is when the computer handles 2 or more simultaneous driving functions such as cruise control and lane keeping. Level 4 has to do with most driving functions automated, a human is needed to be in unusual circumstances. Level 5 would be a fully computer controlled in all circumstances with no human intervention. No steering wheel, that's not a problem. In general terms, AVs employ sense, plan, act design that is the foundation of many robotic systems. A suite of sensors on the vehicle gathers raw data about the outside world and the vehicle's relation to its environment. Software algorithms interpret the sensor data, for example, the lane markings from images on the road or behavior of other vehicles. They use this data to make plans about the vehicle's own actions. These plans are converted into actionable commands to the vehicle's control system, for example, the steering, the throttle, or the brakes. With perfect perfections, AVs could plan and act perfectly, achieving ultra reliability. Vehicles would never tire, their planning algorithms can choose probably optimal behaviors, and their execution can be fast and flawless. For example, if a deer were to leap into the path of a human-driven vehicle, the driver may make mistakes in choosing whether to swerve, brake, or take another course of action. The driver may also make mistakes in executing this action, for example, if they oversteer a swerve. AVs may never make these mistakes. Computer algorithms can rapidly evaluate, compare, select, and execute the best action from among a number of maneuvers, taking into account the vehicle's speed, the animal's trajectory, the position and behavior of other vehicles, and the utility of various outcomes. One of the more difficult challenges for AVs is making sense of the complex and dynamic driving environment, for example, perceiving the deer. The driving environment includes many elements like other vehicles on the road, other road users, or on-road obstacles, weather conditions, infrastructure conditions like construction, traffic events such as congestion or crashes. It is in making sense of the world that humans often outperform robots. Human eyes are sophisticated and provide nearly all of the sensory data we use to drive. We are also adept at interpreting what we see. Camera-based systems are the analogy to human eyes and visual cognition. They can see very long distances and provide rich information about everything in their field of view. Cameras are also inexpensive, making them important components for cost-effective autonomy. However, they have two important limitations. First, the underlying algorithms are not nearly as sophisticated as humans at interpreting visual data. A second limitation is that, like human eyes, camera systems are better able to gather data in some ambient conditions other than others. Changes in ambient conditions also pose challenges, as camera systems calibrated to a certain condition may have difficulty interpreting data in others. This problem of autonomous camera calibration is also a fundamental robotics research problem. In the future of AVs, we're more likely to see technological leap that abbreviates personal cars before we see Level 5, and we are likely to experience and even enjoy Level 4 and Level 5 automation within strict confines like shuttles and deliveries, fairly soon even. We must confine our expectations around autonomous cars to relieving the most monotonous and unpleasant driving scenarios rather than driving for us all the time. The airline industry has been tackling this problem for decades, and your last plane still had at least 2 pilots up front.
Now that we have seen the current state of this particular industry, let's take a look at what other industries will impact from the implementation of autonomous vehicles.
Autonomous vehicles will impact far more than just the automobile industry. The use of autonomous vehicles will cause a significant shift in employment throughout many industries, benefiting some while hurting others. Since autonomous vehicles will be making such an uproar throughout the world when they come to fruition, we will focus on 4 primary industries and their effects: airlines, hotels, insurance, and professional driving services. Many people use airlines for the convenience and autonomy of the travel itself. A business person can tackle work, take a nap, or catch up on some relaxation while on a plane. With driverless cars, this becomes a reality for the road. On top of this, the driver will not have to deal with the TSA, delays, or any other headaches that come with air travel. The car will take care of the trip while the passenger can catch some Z's. It is easy to see how an 8-hour car trip can turn into a short night's sleep. Hotels run into the same issues that planes do. For the short, one-night stays for people on the road, the business will decline. There will be little need for one-night visits for $100 plus when you can sleep in a car that takes you to your destination. This change will not hurt the hotel business nearly as much as the airplane industry. However, there will be plenty of adverse effects for hotel owners that have a market of one-night stayers. The insurance industry will be one of the few sectors that will primarily benefit from the use of autonomous vehicles. Most coverage will continue to have the same model it has today. We will need to get different kind of insurance like motorcycle and RV insurance that is specific to autonomous vehicles. Once most or all vehicles become autonomous, it would not be surprising to see many insurance companies changing business models to target car repairs and coverage for damages due to inclement weather and non-autonomous vehicles, similar to the uninsured motorist provision most people have here in Florida. Professional driving services will be affected the most. As a society, we have seen it time and time again. We no longer have blacksmiths, horseshoe repairmen, or window tappers. Some jobs become obsolete as time passes, and professional driving services will be a thing of the past. The companies will still be there for taxis, freight, limos, and escort services, but there will be no need for drivers of any of these vehicles, completely obliterating the profession. More specific to freight services, if the shipment's time decreases, the rest of the supply chain will also be affected. One of the biggest effects due to autonomous vehicles will be logistics. Freight is a tremendous mover of product in any country, which is doubly true for the United States, where 70% of our shipments are made by truck. With a transition to autonomous trucking, jobs will be lost, but there will also be a big transition for logistics of the freight and trucking industry. The autonomous vehicles will be able to deliver freight much faster due to the ability to drive nonstop. This means distribution centers will have higher inflow during the third shift. This may be a positive effect autonomous vehicles have on jobs, but this will not offset the loss of jobs in the trucking industry. The logistics information systems the distribution centers use will need to be updated, and the centers adequately staffed to take advantage of the faster and more frequent shipments.
The technology is ready. Lots of industries are ready. So why are we all still driving with our hands? Well, there are still a lot of barriers companies will need to overcome before we see mass adaptation of autonomous vehicles.
People are skeptical about entrusting their lives to a robot. Many studies and tests would need to be performed before mass adoption could take place, with potentially billions of miles needed to be covered for adequate testing and reliable statistics. This means that manufacturers will need to develop sophisticated testing techniques that will require less time and resources to achieve results. Self-driving cars need to have complete information about the surroundings and environment in which they operate. Intersections, crosswalks, driveways, merging lanes, and most importantly road work need to be constantly resurveyed and updated. Doing so for every little town, village, and city will require tremendous effort and time, as the United States alone has over 4 million miles of public roads. Self-driving cars need to be programmed to recognize things other than cars on the road. Pedestrians, bikers, animals, and road workers all need to be detected and recognized by the autonomous vehicle. It is still very hard for robots to complete tasks that are easy for humans, such as recognizing hand gestures from bikers and pedestrians or following a policeman's instructions at an intersection. Cybersecurity is a real concern for the industry. First, this means that car manufacturers will need to have security measures in place to ensure the vehicle is not hacked remotely. Second, manufacturers have to make sure the owner of the vehicle does not have access to internal software, as it can be dangerous if even one setting gets tweaked. Potential negative consequences. Many current car manufacturers will have to adapt to the fast-changing shift towards autonomous vehicles or go out of business as conventional cars become less and less popular. Independent, small-scale auto mechanics will go out of business as vehicles become more technically advanced and will need specialized equipment and knowledge. Fueling industry will shrink as self-driving cars will be primarily electrical for logistical reasons. Enormous job loss in industries such as commercial shipping and mass transportation. Self-driving trucks will put approximately 300,000 truck drivers out of the job. Autonomous trains, planes, and ships will eliminate even more jobs and make shipping and transportation easier and faster.
Despite all of the social concerns, logistical, and technological barriers, autonomous vehicles are driving the fast lane on the road to reality. This project topic was so exciting for our group because this technological development is happening all around us. In January of this year, one of the leaders of the autonomous car industry, Waymo, rolled out their autonomous cab service, Waymo One. Riders can hail the taxi through an app, plug in the destination, and ride there in a fully driverless taxi. In even more recent news, just earlier this month, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill into law that will drastically expand the testing and use of autonomous vehicles in Florida. This new law permits vehicles to operate without any human being present in the car.
But this bill really affirms Florida's commitment to advancing a growing new era in transportation innovation. It inspires innovation and removes unnecessary obstacles that hinder the development of autonomous vehicle technology. It'll attract more autonomous vehicle testing, and the legislation will serve as a model for other states with this.
There are still plenty of issues and obstacles that autonomous vehicle companies need to solve before mass adoption happens. But all of these companies are working really hard, and they're working really fast. They all are competing to become the first to commercialize driverless cars. This race to perfect autonomous cars is like the space race of our generation. We're sitting on the brink of one of the most significant moments in all of technological history. Not too long ago, the concept of having driverless cars on our roadways seemed light years away. But in 2019, with the emergence of autonomous vehicles, we get to watch science fiction turn into reality right before our very eyes.